Hope that you're all okay and you're keeping safe at home and you're enjoying our videos and doing some home learning. Don't forget that you can email us your home learning. So you can email me or Eleanor or so, because we would love to see what you've been getting up to. Okay, this week I'm reading a story. Let's have a look at what story it is this week. It is Jack. Jack. Oh, I know that one. That's a tricky word, and that's a tricky word too. Do you know what that one is? So Jack and and this is a tricky word here. Beanstalk. Jack and the Beanstalk. I know that Year 1 are also reading Jack and the Beanstalk this week. So if you have a brother or sister or a friend in Year 1, you can have a chat to them and watch the Year 1 video and see what's the same or what's different about our Jack and the Beanstalk stories. Okay, let's get started. Oh, very nice illustrations on this page. I like the colours that they've used. So I'm not going to start by saying that Jack was lazy. When there was an adventure in the offing, he was not lazy at all, but most of the time he just did a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Jack lived with his mum and Daisy, the cow, in a tumble-down farmhouse a little way out of town. Jack's mum liked to do just a little bit of this and a little bit of that as well. They didn't have very much money, but they didn't much care. So you can see, look, there's Jack and Jack's mum and then Daisy the cow. Then one day, there was nothing left to eat. Not even a crust of old bread, and no money left either to buy anything. Oh, this is Mum's voice. How might I do Mum's voice? Would it be low or would it be high? I think high for Mum. It's no good, Jack, his mum said. We'll have to sell poor old Daisy. You had better get up early tomorrow morning and take her to the market. Make sure you get a good price for her. Oh, no. Jack knew better than to argue. Besides, he was very hungry. So the next day, he got up at sunrise. That's when the sun comes up. It's quite early. And set off down the lane with Daisy in tow. He had not gone far when he came around a corner and bumped into a funny little man. The man was wearing a big baggy jacket with big baggy pockets. You can see the big pockets there. Oh, this is the man's voice. Maybe it would be a little bit low. Good morning to you, said the man. That's a nice looking cow you have there. Do you fancy doing a swap for her? Oh, I wonder what the swap will be. Jack remembered what his mum had told him, so he asked, what will you give me in exchange? So Jack's asking, what will you give me for Daisy the cow? These, declared the funny little man, and plunging a hand deep into one of his pockets, he pulled out 6 plump beans. Those? Asked Jack. Yes, said the funny little man, these. Don't think these are just ordinary beans. Oh no, these are magic beans. But you will have to be careful with them. I've lost the instructions for them, so I'm not sure what they do. Oh, that doesn't sound like a good exchange, does it? Well, there was nothing Jack loved better than magic. Oh, do you think that Jack should give Daisy to this man and take some magic beans? His mum said he had to get a good price so they could buy some food. I'm not sure that he should be changing Daisy for some magic beans, but let's find out what happens. And so Jack handed over Daisy, took the beans and hurried home. As soon as he reached the back door, Jack burst into the kitchen and proudly threw the beans down on the table. What's this? Exclaimed his mum. Oh dear, thought Jack. They're magic beans, Mum. I swapped them for Daisy. At least we've got something to eat. Well, we will have when they've grown. Oh no, and beans take a little while to grow, so they don't have anything to eat straight away. Oh no. Jack's mum was furious. She was very cross. She went white in the face and shouted and stamped. Then she threw open the window and flung the beans outside. That night, Jack and his mum went to bed feeling miserable and hungry. You can see Jack's mum throwing the beans outside. They're landing on the floor outside. I wonder what will happen. But in the garden, things began to happen. The beans slipped down through the cracks in the ground. Their roots wiggled deep into the earth and shoots pushed upward. You can see here, it's the roots and then up to the shoots. They burst through the hard crust of the soil and twisting and tangling together, they grew high into the sky. They kept on growing and growing until they reached the land of the clouds. That means that they were very tall. Kept on growing and growing and growing until they reached the sky. That's a long way. Then a long, wiry tendril reached down to the house and tapped on Jack's bedroom window. It's this bit here, so it's a long bit of one of the beanstalks. And tapped on Jack's bedroom window. Oh, who's that? Jack yawned. He saw strange shadows in the moonlit window, and not sure whether this was a dream or a real adventure, he padded across the room and threw back his curtains. There, bending and swaying in the moonlight, was the most enormous beanstalk he had ever seen. I wonder where the top of it goes, Jack said to himself. Oh, what do you think Jack will do? He said, I wonder where the top of it goes. What do you think he will do to find out? Do you think he will stay in his bed? Or do you think he will climb up the beanstalk? I think he might climb up the beanstalk. Let's see what happens. There was only one way to find out, without stopping to think twice. He clambered over the windowsill and started to climb. Soon the house was just a tiny dot far, far below. Still, he's made his way upwards, so he's climbing and climbing. He's very high because his house is really small down below. That must be scary. Finally, he reached the land of the clouds. Oh, look, you can see the land of the clouds, and he's on his beanstalk there. And stepped off the beanstalk onto the fluffy grey ground. In the distance, he could see a huge castle. Jack walked straight up to it and knocked on the door. He heard the clank of keys being turned, the rumble of bars being slid back, and the rattle of chains being unfastened. Then, at last, the huge door creaked open a crack. Might sound like this if it creaks open. And he saw a little old woman peering at him by the light of a candle. She's looking at him. She's only got a small light from her candle. That's a big castle, isn't it? You can't come in, she whispered. He'll be back soon. Go away! Please, Jack begged. I'm a stranger here and I'm starving hungry. Can't I just pop in quickly for something to eat? The woman looked at him more closely and saw that he was a nice-looking lad with a ready smile. So he looked friendly because he was smiling. Very well, you can come in for a minute, she said, but don't let him catch sight of you. Who will it be that will catch sight of him? I wonder who lives in this giant castle. Anybody have a guess? Who would live there? I guess we'll find out on the next page. Who's he? Asked Jack as they made their way along the dusty castle corridors to the big kitchen. Lining the walls were mounds of huge bulging snacks, which jiggled as Jack brushed against them. The giant, of course. A giant! No wonder the castle's so big. If he catches you, he'll eat you for sure. He's got a foul temper. That means that sometimes he can be a bit angry. So you'd better keep out of his way. Hide among the snacks. If you hear him coming. Look, there's Jack there, hiding among the big snacks. Then, just as she finished speaking, there was a crashing of heavy footsteps outside the room. Might sound like this. Uh-oh! Jack only just managed to hide behind a heap of snacks when the door burst open and in barged the giant. Fee, fi, fo, fum. It's a very deep voice, the giant. It's very loud. I smell the blood of a stinking man. Where is he, woman? Where are you hiding him? The giant sniffled his way around the room until he came close to where Jack was hiding. Jack must be very scared. Oh, don't be silly, said the old woman. All you can smell is the stew I've made. I was trying a bowl of it to make sure it was good enough for you. Would you like some? Soon the giant had slurped his way through an enormous bowl of stew, and he burped loudly and demanded, Fetch me my goose. I want some more gold. Oh, his goose. Gooses usually lay eggs, not gold. Must be magic. Let's find out. The old woman slipped out of the room and was soon back, cradling a huge, very gloomy-looking bird in her arms. Peeping out from his hiding place, Jack watched as the goose began to lay eggs, each of them made of pure gold. Oh, it must be a magical goose. It's not a normal egg, it's a gold egg. As each egg appeared, the giant put it into a giant egg box. Then he demanded, Now, fetch me my harp. I want some music. Once again, the old woman bustled out of the room and came back holding an exquisite harp made of gold. That's a harp there. Musical instrument made of gold. Wow. Even the strings were golden. Play, harp, play, shouted the giant, and as if by magic, the room was filled with the most beautiful, gentle music as the strings began to vibrate all by themselves. Soon the giant fell asleep, and his sniffling and snoring echoed around the room. I wonder what Jack's going to do now that the giant's asleep. Jack crept out from his hiding place and quietly began to drag one of the bulging sacks full of gold coins across the kitchen floor. It was very heavy, and it jingled as he pulled it, but the giant did not wake up. Jack heaved and dragged the sack right out of the castle, across the cloud and back to the top of the beanstalk. The sack was too heavy for him to carry any further, so he left it there and slid quickly down. I wonder what will happen next. There's the giant asleep, and Jack's left the bag of gold there, and he's gone all the way down the beanstalk back to his house. When he reached home, Jack found his mum staring up at the beanstalk and scratching her head. Rope! cried Jack as he sprang to the ground. He ran off to the shed and came back a few moments later with great coils wrapped around him. It's great coils of rope, you can see there. Then he set off back up the beanstalk. After a while, he felt the rope become loose, and he knew that the sack had reached the ground safely. Oh, I read the wrong bit. It's this bit here. Silly me. At the top of the beanstalk, Jack tied one end of the rope to the stem and the other to the sack of gold. Then he started to lower the sack. After a while, he felt the rope became loose, and he knew that the sack had reached the ground safely and that his mum had untied it. It's good teamwork there. Jack headed back to the kitchen to fetch another sack. As he crept past the giant, the goose looked hopefully and whispered, Can I come too? I hate it up here. You wouldn't need to take the sack then. I could lay you as many golden eggs as you want. So Jack picked her up and ran out of the room. In the corridor, he bumped into the old woman. Can I come with you too? She asked. What do you think Jack will say? Yes or no? Let's see. Of course, said Jack. Here, you take the goose and I'll go back for the harp. Uh-oh, I wonder if the giant's going to wake up. But as Jack picked up the harp, it suddenly cried out, What's going on? Who are you? Help, help! Jack raced out of the kitchen just as the giant woke up, saw what was happening and began to give chase. So he started to chase after Jack. Faster and faster ran Jack. Closer and closer came the giant. As he reached the top of the beanstalk, Jack could feel the giant's hand on the hairs on the back of his neck. Look, just about to catch him. "Quick!" he shouted. The old woman started slithering down with the goose, and Jack slithered down behind her with the harp. They could hear the giant shouting and swearing as he tried to follow them. The beanstalk bent and swayed wildly, first to the left, then to the right. But the old woman and Jack reached the ground safely. Jack grabbed the rope. He pulled, and he pulled, until he could see the giant hanging on for dear life, glaring, staring at him, down at him. Then he let go. What do you think will happen to the giant? He's pulled and pulled the beanstalk, and the giant's just holding on. Wonder what's going to happen. Boing! Look what's happened to the giant. He's gone flying. The beanstalk shot upright like an enormous catapult, unable to hold on any longer. The giant flew off the end. He soared away into space and was never seen again. And as far as I know, he's still there. The old woman went inside to make a pot of tea. Mum put the golden harp on the kitchen dresser, and Jack made the magic goose a special hut. He put the sack of gold in the cellar and took out a coin whenever he needed to buy something. And the last time I went to visit, the harp played jigs and reels, so we all had a merry dance. Oh, well, that was a nice ending. Sounds as though the goose and the little old woman and the harp are much happier being at Jack's house. But do you think it was okay that Jack took all of those things from the giant? Because they weren't Jack's things to take, were they? But he took them from his house. I don't think that that's very nice. He should have asked. Oh, well, I hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget that you can email us, and you can also send us a link on Twitter using the hashtag LHEYFS1920. We would love to hear from you. Keep yourself safe and hopefully see you soon. Bye.